Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a challenge literally every professional faces at some point, leading under immense pressure. We're going to synthesize three wildly different sources to forge what is essentially a definitive guide for modern leaders on maintaining absolute integrity and control when the stakes are at their absolute highest. We'll be blending the ancient Stoic philosophy of a Roman emperor, the field-tested tactics of FBI hostage negotiators, and a little bit of behavioral psychology. It's an incredibly fascinating mix, so let's just dive right in. First, let's establish just how extreme pressure can really get. Former FBI international kidnapping negotiator Chris Voss often points to the absolutely chilling case of William Griffin. He was the first man ever to kill a hostage on a deadline. Now, the police and FBI negotiators on the scene, they completely assumed he wanted money, but his hidden underlying motive, what he actually wanted, was to be killed by a police officer. This is a crucial example because it highlights how immense pressure, real life or death stakes, forces us to look way past surface-level demands if we actually want to truly understand and resolve a crisis. Now, I want you to hold that intense modern-day chaos in your mind and contrast it with the ancient world. Think of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. Almost 2,000 years ago, this guy was commanding troops, dealing with active invasions, and managing the crushing weight of an entire empire. What this shows us is that maintaining your composure while leading people through a crisis, well, it isn't just a modern workplace issue, right? It's a timeless, universal human challenge. So here is our game plan for today. We have 6 key steps on our agenda. 1. The crucible of leadership. 2. Master your inner world. 3. The illusion of control. 4. Tactical empathy in action. 5. Uncovering the black swans. And finally, 6. Leading with true integrity. We're basically going to map this journey out from the inside out, starting with mastering our own minds before moving outward to the actual strategic execution of negotiation tactics. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the crucible of leadership, the universal problem of pressure. So every single modern leader is eventually going to face the crucible. We're talking forceful type A personalities, completely aggressive bosses, or just chaotic workplace crises that genuinely threaten to compromise your core values and your integrity. In his work, Voss poses this absolutely brilliant question. If you can't control your own emotions, how can you expect to influence the emotions of another party? He strongly warns that punching back in these tense moments, that's a toxic last resort. True influence absolutely requires total self-control first. Which brings us right to Section 2, Master Your Inner World, establishing the baseline. Okay, before we can look outward to solve any problem, we have to establish this foundational requirement of internal control. And to master this, we're actually turning to behavioral expert Cesar Millan. Yes, literally the dog whisperer. His concept of calm-assertive energy isn't just for canine companions. It is absolutely vital for boardroom leadership. It's defined as the intentional projection of a grounded, focused, and non-defensive state of mind to control the situation rather than just panicking. And hey, if you aren't naturally calm, you can use meditation or quite literally fake it till you make it to harness this energy. This is what allows you to stop treating external problems like they're personal assaults against you. What's amazing is that this behavioral approach perfectly mirrors our ancient Jedi master, Marcus Aurelius. In his meditations, he insisted that a leader's duty is to keep their spirit totally unpolluted by violent passion. You have to prevent rashness and vanity, embrace occurrences contentedly, and depend wholly on your own proper actions. He viewed his own mind as an impenetrable anchor right in the middle of chaos. Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds into the external dynamic with the illusion of control, from internal calm to external strategy. So we have our internal anchor sorted. Now, how do we apply this externally? The crucial point here is that we absolutely must replace defensive confrontation with what Voss calls tactical empathy. Confrontation is punching back, escalating, or demanding consent. Tactical empathy, on the other hand, is suspending your judgment, observing their negativity without reacting to it, and actually, get this, granting the other person permission to say no. Doing this satisfies a very deep, universal human need for autonomy. You are literally giving an aggressive counterpart the illusion of control. And by giving them this illusion, you actually gain the upper hand. The real secret is to acknowledge their ideas openly, even if they're incredibly angry, and then carefully guide them towards solving the problem. When you preserve a person's autonomy, their emotions naturally calm down. They're allowed to kind of hold your proposal in their hands, turn it around, and engage with it rationally instead of defensively. Let's look at how to actually do this in Section 4, Tactical Empathy in Action, the Jedi Mind Tricks.
So how do we practically execute this kind of bare-knuckle bargaining without just being pushed around by a stubborn client or some irrational executive? Well, Voss recommends using very specific, calibrated questions. Things like, how am I supposed to do that? What is the objective? How can we solve this problem? What is it that brought us into this situation? Notice what is entirely missing from that list, the word why. Why is pretty much always an accusation in any language, but asking how or what implicitly asks for help. It triggers goodwill, and it actually forces the other person to use their own mental resources to solve your problem. It's brilliant. You are steering the ship while totally letting them think they hold the wheel.
But wait, what if they just agree to your terms to get rid of you? We've all seen that happen. To ensure a counterpart isn't just giving you a counterfeit yes, you need to deploy the rule of 3 to test their commitment. Step 1, get a commitment yes. Step 2, label or summarize what they said until they naturally answer that's right. Step 3, ask a calibrated how or what question about implementation. This sequence is a game changer because it uncovers implementation problems before they even happen. It is incredibly hard for someone to repeatedly fake conviction 3 times in a row. Which brings us to Section 5, Uncovering the Black Swans, Mastering the Unknown Variables. Because look, even with perfect emotional control and perfectly calibrated empathetic questions, negotiations can still fail. Why? Due to hidden variables that you are totally blind to. If a counterpart is acting completely irrationally, you have to look at the situation and honestly ask yourself, what don't I know? Because chances are they actually aren't crazy. They're just complying with hidden needs, hidden desires, constraints, or even bad information based on their own internal rules. In the negotiation world, these hidden variables are known as black swans. They are powerful, unknown unknowns. These are pieces of hidden information that, if you actually discovered them, would completely change the entire dynamic of the negotiation. Think back to William Griffin from earlier. His desire to be killed by a cop? That was a massive black swan. And this perfectly illustrates that finding black swans requires a complete shift from a simple one-dimensional game of checkers to a 3D, intuitive way of listening between the lines and aggressively observing nonverbal clues. Finally, this brings us to our synthesis in Section 6, Leading with True Integrity. Always remember that the adversary is the situation. It's the unsolved issue. It is never the person sitting across the table from you. True integrity in modern leadership means combining Voss's tactical approach of treating counterparts with dignity and respect with Marcus Aurelius's ancient Stoic demand to always do what is right, accept what happens, and speak the truth. You absolutely can hold your boundaries and achieve your goals without ever being dragged into the emotional mud. Which leaves us with this final, somewhat provocative question to consider. In your next high-pressure conflict, will you react with defensive confrontation, or will you uncover the black swan with calm, assertive energy? I really want you to ponder how you're going to approach your next workplace crisis. Remember, true power and true leadership, they come from mastering yourself so you can better understand and ultimately guide others. Thank you so much for exploring these fascinating sources with me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.